The knock after 20 years. The night was quiet. Too quiet for the alien village resting under the silver moons. The air was still, broken only by the rustle of wind across the empty streets. Houses stood with glowing blue lanterns, but behind the lights there was silence. Nobody liked to speak much after sunset. For 20 long years a shadow had haunted them. A memory of the strange species that once shook the galaxy. Humanity. No one had seen a human in 2 decades. Some said they had destroyed themselves in their own wars. Others whispered they had hidden away, waiting. Many young aliens did not even believe humans were real. They thought humans were only stories told by the old ones to keep children awake at night. The stories said humans were dangerous, fast, clever, and full of fire. They were creatures who could not be broken. And yet 20 years had passed and not a single human had been seen. Inside a lonely wooden house near the edge of the village, an old alien named Raylith sat by the dim light of his fire. His skin was pale green and marked with scars from a war that most had forgotten. But he had not forgotten. He had fought beside humans once. He had seen their strength, and their strange kindness too. Yet now, even he wondered if they were truly gone. As the fire crackled, a sound broke the silence. A soft sound, almost too small to notice. A knock. Raylith froze, his ears twitched. His eyes turned to the door. He thought it must be the wind. But then it came again, knock, knock, slow, careful, almost like someone afraid. Raylith's heart began to beat faster. Who would knock on his door so late? Nobody in the village visited after dark. They were too afraid of shadows. With heavy steps he moved to the door. His claws reached for the handle. His mind raced. Perhaps it was a trick. Perhaps children dared each other. Perhaps something worse. He opened the door. Standing there in the pale moonlight was a small figure. An alien child, thin and trembling. Her skin was gray-blue, her eyes wide. In her hands she held something glowing faintly. It was not a toy, not a stone, it was a device. Raylith's breath caught. The device was old. Metal darkened with time. But the faint light it gave off was unmistakable. Human letters, human design. The child looked up at him. Her voice was soft but carried weight far beyond her years. "I was told," she whispered, "that only a human can open this." Raylith's blood ran cold. For 20 years no one had spoken that word at his door. Human. He stepped back, his eyes fixed on the device. "Where did you get that?" he asked, his voice cracked with fear and awe. The child held it tighter, her little hands shaking. "It was given to me," she said. "It has been waiting for 20 years. Tonight it told me to come, tonight it told me to knock." Raylith felt his throat tighten. He wanted to slam the door. He wanted to throw the device into the fire. But something in the child's eyes stopped him. She was not lying. There was a strange glow in her gaze. A mix of innocence and destiny. Behind them the wind howled. Carrying with it the weight of forgotten wars, Raylith stepped aside slowly. "Come in," he said, his voice low. The child entered, clutching the glowing device close to her chest. She sat down by the fire. Her shadow flickered against the wooden walls. Raylith stared at her, at the strange human relic in her hands. For 20 years no human had walked these lands. But here in his home sat an alien child carrying their memory, carrying their secret. "What do you want from me?" Raylith asked. His voice was softer now, more tired. The child lifted the device, the glow brightened, casting human letters into the air. Strange symbols danced, unfamiliar to alien eyes. But Raylith recognized some. He had seen them carved on the weapons of his old human comrades. The child whispered again, her voice trembling but sure. "I was told this must be given to a human, but there are no humans left." "Are there?" Raylith had no answer. His heart ached, his mind spun. Could it be that somewhere, somehow, the humans were not gone? Could it be that this small child carried the key to their return? The fire cracked. The night deepened. Outside, the wind grew stronger. It was as if the stars themselves were holding their breath. Raylith leaned forward, his old scarred face caught in the glow of the device. He spoke the words he had not spoken in 20 years. Maybe they are closer than you think. And in that moment, the knocking of fate echoed louder than the storm outside. Humanity's shadow had returned, not with armies, not with ships, but with the trembling hands of a child at an old man's door. The child's secret. The firelight flickered inside the small wooden house. Shadows stretched across the walls as Raylith watched the little girl. Her thin hand still clutched the strange device, glowing faintly in the dim room. The soft blue light of the screen lit her young face. Her eyes did not blink. They were fixed on the letters only a human could read. Raylith's chest felt heavy. He had seen death, he had seen battles, but never had he felt such strange fear. Not fear of the child, but fear of what her words might mean. If the device had truly waited 20 years, then why now? Why her? The girl looked up, her voice trembling but strong. "My name is Lyra," she whispered. "I was told that I should come when the moons are full and the stars shift in the north sky." Her little finger pointed to the window. Through the glass, the twin moons stood side by side, casting pale silver over the quiet village. And in the far distance, a cluster of stars shone brighter than usual. Raylith narrowed his eyes. "Who told you this?" he asked. The girl's face fell. Her lips quivered as if she was afraid to answer. She lowered her gaze to the glowing device. "My mother," she whispered at last. But she said it was not her message, it was his. Raylith leaned forward. "His?" The girl nodded slowly. "She told me my father was not like us, not from our world. She said he was human." The word cut through the air like a blade. Raylith's hands tightened against his knees. A half-human child born after the humans had vanished? It sounded impossible, yet the proof was in her trembling hands, the device. The glow, the letters. Lyra's voice grew softer, almost like she feared the shadows themselves would hear. "She never told the village they would have hated us," she only said. "When the device begins to hum, I must carry it to the one who remembers." Her wide eyes lifted to Raylith. "That's you." Raylith felt his throat dry. He had lived in silence for years, ignored by villagers who thought him mad for speaking kindly of humans. They remembered only fear, only war, but this child carried blood that should not exist. Blood that linked two worlds. "Do you know what this means?" Raylith asked. The girl shook her head. "I only know that it hurts," she whispered, pressing her small hands against her chest. "Sometimes at night I dream of a face I've never seen. He wears strange armor. His eyes burn like fire. And when I wake, the device glows. It calls me." The flames hissed in the fire pit. Outside, the wind rose higher, almost as if the night itself leaned in to listen. Raylith reached out with trembling claws. He touched the device, and for a moment the room filled with sound. A faint hum, then a whisper of static. Then words broken and heavy spilled into the air. "If you are hearing this, then we failed. Humanity will return. Wait for us." The voice was deep, human, carrying weight that no alien throat could produce. Lyra gasped and held the device tighter. "That's him," she said quickly, her voice shaking with emotion. "That's the voice in my dreams." Raylith's mind spun. For 20 years he thought the humans gone, erased by their own enemies or their own pride. Yet here was a message waiting in the hands of a child who claimed to be their daughter. Could it be true? Could a human have stayed behind, hidden and left behind blood of his own? "You must be careful," Raylith whispered, leaning close. "If the others find out, they will call you cursed. They will destroy the device, and maybe even you." Lyra's small face hardened with a strength that surprised him. "I don't care if they hate me," she said. "I only want to find him if my father is human. Then I want to know why he left. I want to know why he promised to return. I want to know why I am different." The words pierced through Raylith's heart. This was no ordinary child. This was a bridge between the species, and yet she carried pain heavy for her small shoulders. Raylith sat back, staring at the fire. "You must understand," he said slowly. "Humans, they are not like us. They burn brighter than the stars, but they also destroy everything in their path. To carry their blood is to carry danger." But Lyra only clutched the device closer to her chest. Her eyes glowed in the firelight. "Then let the danger come," she whispered. "Because if I am part human, then danger is already inside me." Raylith shivered for the first time in 20 years. He felt the old fire rise in his chest, the fire of war, of destiny, of choices too big for one village. The humans had always been like that, too big for any world to hold. And now, through this fragile girl, their shadow had returned. Outside, the night deepened. The wind carried faint echoes, whispers that no one could explain, as if the stars themselves remembered the footsteps of humanity. And inside the small wooden house, Raylith and the half-human child sat by the fire, the device glowing brighter than before. The hum of the old message grew stronger, repeating the words again and again. "Humanity will return. Humanity will return." Raylith closed his eyes. For the first time in decades, he believed it might be true. The forgotten signal. The words echoed through the small wooden house. Humanity will return. Again and again the broken voice repeated. Like a ghost from another age, Lyra held the device tightly, her small fingers trembling. The glow reflected in her wide eyes. Raylath sat frozen, his scarred hands gripping his knees. He had seen many things in his long life, but nothing like this. For 20 years the galaxy had lived without humans. For 20 years their silence had been a wound. And now, in the hands of a half-human child, their voices had returned. The fire snapped, throwing sparks into the air. Raylath leaned closer to the device, his voice low, almost afraid. "Do you hear it clearly?" Lyra nodded, her lips quivering. "Yes," she whispered. "I hear it inside me. Even when the device is quiet, it feels like my blood hums with the same sound." Raylath's chest tightened. This was no ordinary message, this was no ordinary child. Suddenly, the device crackled louder. The glowing letters shifted. The hum deepened into a low vibration that rattled the wooden walls. For a moment it seemed as if the house itself was alive. Then a new voice came, still human but clearer. "This signal is locked, to be opened only by human blood. If you are not human, leave it. If you are, then no. We will awaken when the stars align." The words cut off in static. The glow dimmed, then flared again. Lyra gasped, pressing her hand against her chest. "It knows me," she whispered. "It knows I am not like the others." Raylath's eyes widened. The villagers could never know this secret. If they did, they would burn the house, kill the child, and bury the device in the desert. Fear ruled them now, fear of humanity's return. Before he could speak, heavy footsteps echoed outside. Raylath's ears twitched. His old soldier instincts came alive. He moved to the window, pulling the curtain slightly. In the distance, figures moved between the houses, carrying lanterns, their voices carried in the night air. "Did you hear it?" "A strange hum," one alien whispered. "Something unnatural," another answered. It came from the old Scar's house, from Raylath's place. Raylath cursed under his breath. The villagers had heard. The signal had not been silent. It had screamed into the night. He turned back to Lyra. "You must hide," he hissed. But the child shook her head. "No, if they find me, it will not matter where I hide. The device chose this night for a reason." Her words carried a strange strength, more than her small frame should allow. For a moment Raylath saw not a frightened child, but the spark of something larger, something human. The footsteps grew louder. Shadows crossed the door. Then came pounding knocks. "Heavy and angry, Raylath!" A voice shouted. "Open the door!" "What are you hiding?" Raylath's hands shook. He looked at the girl, then at the device. The glow had dimmed, but its hum still pulsed faintly like a heartbeat. He had a choice: betray the child to the fear of the village, or protect her and face the wrath of his own kind. He drew in a deep breath, his voice steady though his heart raced. "Stay behind me," he told her. He opened the door. Villagers stood outside, eyes sharp, fear glowing in their pale faces. One pointed a clawed finger. "We heard it," he hissed. "That cursed human noise. It came from here." Raylath stood tall, his scars catching the moonlight. "You heard the wind," he said calmly. "You hear ghosts because you are afraid of your own shadows." The villagers growled. Some stepped forward, but none dared cross his threshold. Raylath was old, but his name carried weight. He was a veteran, one who had bled for them in wars they no longer spoke of. Finally, the leader spat on the ground. "If you bring the humans back, Old Scar, it will be your death. And hers too," he pointed to the window, where for a brief second Lyra's face had appeared in the glow of the fire. Raylath's heart dropped. He slammed the door shut, bolting it. The footsteps retreated, but their whispers lingered like knives in the night. The house was silent again, except for the faint hum of the device. Raylath turned, his eyes met the girl's. Her face was pale, her eyes shining with unshed tears. "They know now," she whispered. "They will come back." Raylath nodded slowly. "Yes," he said, "they will come. But the signal has already been heard. The forgotten voice of humanity has awakened, and nothing can silence it again." The device pulsed one last time before dimming into silence, but the echo of its words remained, not just in the air but in their hearts. "We will awaken when the stars align." Raylath sank into his chair, his old hands trembling. The girl sat across from him, still clutching the device. Outside, the village whispered in fear. But above, in the silent heavens, the stars shone brighter, as if watching, waiting. Raylath whispered to himself, The forgotten signal is not forgotten anymore. It has found its voice, and it has found its blood. And as the fire burned low, Lyra held the device closer, her eyes hard with determination. "Then I will find them," she said softly. "I will find the humans, and I will remind the galaxy that they are not gone." Her words hung in the air like a promise that would shake the stars themselves. The return. The night was restless. Clouds rolled across the moons, and the wind howled like an old warning. Inside the wooden house, Raelith and Lyra sat in silence. The villagers' threats still echoed in their minds, but the device lay on the table, glowing faintly, as if it still breathed. Raelith's old eyes studied it. His voice was low. "That signal was not only for us, it was for the stars." Lyra tilted her head, clutching her knees. "What do you mean?" Raelith leaned closer. Humans always had a way of reaching beyond. They made their words travel through silence, through time. Maybe this signal was waiting for someone else to hear. As if answering him, the device pulsed with sudden light. The hum grew deeper, vibrating through the floorboards. Dust shook from the rafters and the fire cracked loudly. Lyra gasped and held it tight. Her young eyes widened. Symbols appeared above the device. Human letters mixed with strange numbers. They danced in the air like sparks, forming a map. A map that pointed not to the village, not even to the planet, but to the mountains beyond. Raelith's heart pounded. He knew those mountains, tall, jagged peaks where no one dared go. Legends said monsters slept beneath them, chained in fire and stone. But he knew the truth. He had seen it once, long ago. Shadows of metal buried beneath the earth. "A ship," he whispered. "An old war frigate, human-made, hidden under the mountain's bones." Lyra's small mouth opened in awe. "It's calling us," she whispered. "It wants me to come." Raelith shook his head quickly. "No, it's dangerous. The villagers will already be watching. And if the stories are true, that ship has slept for 20 years. Ships like that do not wake without reason." But Lyra's grip tightened. Her little shoulders stiffened with a fire far older than her years. "Then I must go," she said firmly. "If my blood can wake it." "Then this is why I was born." Raelith stared at her. For a moment he saw not a trembling child, but the shadow of humanity itself, fierce and unyielding. He remembered the men and women he had fought beside, eyes burning with courage even in defeat. Now he saw that same spark in her. Before he could speak, the earth trembled. A deep rumble rolled beneath their feet. Outside, shouts filled the night. Villagers ran into the streets. Pointing at the sky, Raelith rushed to the window. His heart nearly stopped in the darkness above. Distant shapes moved, strange ships gliding through the clouds. Not alien, not human, but something else. Their light scanned the ground, searching, hunting. "They heard the signal," Raelith whispered in dread. "They are not ours, not yours. They are scavengers of the dark." Drawn to human voices, Lyra pressed the glowing device against her chest, her small voice steady. "Then we must reach the mountains before they do." Raelith turned to her. Torn between fear and duty, the villagers would never help. They would betray her to save themselves, but deep inside, he knew the truth. If humanity truly slept under the mountain, then this was their only hope. He grabbed his old cloak and his walking staff. "Then we move now," he said. His voice held the steel of the soldier he once was. They slipped out the back door into the night. The village was chaos, lanterns flashing, voices raised. The alien ships above drew closer, beams of white light sweeping across the land. Raelith guided Lyra through the shadows, his heart pounding with each step. Hours later, they reached the base of the mountains. The peaks rose like jagged teeth against the star-filled sky. The device glowed brighter with every step, its hum echoing inside the rocks. Lyra's small face shone with sweat and determination. She pressed forward, pulling Raelith by the hand. Finally, the ground shook again, and the mountain wall before them split with a deep groan. Stone fell away, revealing black metal beneath, ancient, scarred, but alive. The hidden ship stirred, lights flickering across its hull. Raelith fell to his knees, his old heart racing. By the stars. It is real. The ship's massive door cracked open, steam hissing into the cold night. Inside, rows of glass pods glowed faintly. Shadows of men and women slept inside, faces calm, their armor still intact after 20 years. Lyra stepped forward, tears filling her eyes. She placed the glowing device into a socket near the ship's core. The hum exploded into life, echoing through the valley. One by one, the pods began to open. Frost melted from the glass. Steam rose like ghosts leaving their graves. And then, eyes opened. Human eyes, bright and burning. The first man stepped out, tall and scarred. His voice was deep, steady. "Who woke us?" Lyra's small voice trembled but did not break. "I did," she whispered. "Your daughter." The silence that followed was heavier than stone. Releth's heart thundered in his chest. The humans had returned, not as legends, not as ghosts, but as flesh and blood. Above them, the enemy ships circled closer, their lights piercing the sky. But inside the mountain, the old human frigate roared to life. Engines burning after 20 years of silence, Raleth whispered to himself, "The galaxy will never be the same." And as the humans stood blinking at the world they had left behind, Lyra smiled through her tears. "You came back," she whispered, "just like you promised." The strange request, the mountain shook with life. The ancient human frigate hummed as its engines roared after 20 silent years. The sound rolled through the valley like thunder, waking stones, shaking the ground. Outside, alien scavenger ships circled like hungry beasts, their beams searching, their weapons ready. Inside the great chamber, the humans stirred. One by one they stepped from their frozen pods, their breath misting in the cold air. Their eyes glowed with fire, their bodies strong despite the long sleep. Armor clung to them like shadows of war. Their faces bore scars of old battles, but their steps carried pride. Raleth stood frozen, tears stinging his old eyes. He had thought them gone forever, but here they were, living proof that humanity had not been erased. His chest burned with memory of battles fought beside men and women who had refused to kneel. Lyra stood at the center, small and trembling, yet her head was held high. She looked up at the tall human commander, the first to awaken. His face was stern, his jaw marked with age, but his eyes softened as they fell on her. He knelt before her, lowering himself so their eyes met. His voice was low, filled with weight. "Who are you, child?" Lyra's lips trembled, but she spoke with courage. "I am Lyra," she whispered. "My mother was alien. But my father was human. He left me with this." She lifted the small glowing device, still humming faintly in her hands. "He said only a human could open it. And now it has brought me to you." The commander's eyes widened. His hand rose slowly, touching the device. His face shifted, pain flickering across it. "This was ours," he said softly. "A beacon, a promise. Left for the ones who would come after. If you carry this, then you carry us." Lyra's eyes filled with tears, her voice broke. "I don't want war. I don't want to be a curse. I only want family. I only want to know I am not alone." Raleth's heart tightened. The words of the small child filled the chamber like fire. They were not the demand of a soldier, not the scream of vengeance, but a plea, an innocent request. The commander placed his hand on her shoulder. His voice was steady. "Then that is your request? Not power, not revenge, not glory, only family?" She nodded, tears running down her cheeks. "Yes," she whispered. "Please. Do not leave again. Please stay. Please be what you promised, a people who do not abandon." The silence that followed was heavier than war. Every human in the chamber turned, their eyes burning as they looked at her. They had fought empires, they had burned fleets, but none of that had shaken them like this small voice asking only for family. Raleth saw it, the fire return in their faces, but it was not just fire of battle. It was fire of belonging, of duty, of love, the kind that made humans impossible to destroy. Suddenly, alarms blared across the ship. The walls shook, enemy ships had locked on, their weapons charged, beams of light streaked toward the mountain. The commander rose to his full height, his eyes no longer soft but burning with steel. He turned to his soldiers, his voice booming. "You heard her? Humanity does not abandon its own. We will not abandon her, nor the galaxy that forgot us. Stand ready! The soldiers roared as one, their voices echoing like thunder in the chamber. Armor lit, weapons powered. The ship's systems came alive, engines screaming, guns sliding into place. Raylath staggered back, awe filling his chest. By the stars, he whispered. The galaxy will remember this night. The mountain split as the frigate rose, its engines tearing rock and fire into the sky. The enemy ships swarmed, but the humans did not flinch. Their warship unleashed its fury, beams of light and thunder shaking the heavens. One by one, the scavenger ships burned, exploding into dust. Through the chaos, Lyra stood at the front window, her small hands pressed to the glass. She watched the stars ignite with battle, but her eyes were calm. For the first time in her life, she did not feel alone. The commander stood beside her, his voice steady. You gave us more than a signal, child. You gave us a reason. Humanity has returned, not for conquest, not for fear, but for you. Lyra turned to him, her tears shining in the glow of battle. Her lips trembled with words that carried across the chamber. Then promise me this. Never leave again. The commander bowed his head, his voice firm. On my life, on all our lives, humanity will never abandon you. The warship broke through the clouds, engines blazing. The galaxy above trembled as its voice roared. Humanity had returned, not as ghosts, not as whispers, but as living fire, and it was not vengeance that led them, nor hunger for war, but the strange request of a child who wanted only family. That night, the stars learned a truth no empire would forget. Humans could vanish, humans could fall silent, but they would always return. And when they returned with fire, with love, and with promises unbroken.